we know what is morally correct in that, you just know there's a small voice or the quiet voice, whatever you want to call it, if you can calm yourself down enough to like access that part of you, which is good or has goodness in it. However, the fact that as human being, like throughout time, just psychologically speaking, many violent offenders are also, it's not lack of empathy for others, it's being overly interested in one's own attainments, goals, and cutting corners, and just not having time to care. So yeah, ideals as opposed to actions. I use the example often, I don't know where I read it, but if you walk past an old lady in the snow and you don't help her up, by the time you get to bed, hopefully, there's a voice in your head saying, oh, why didn't you do that? Like, oh, you really should have. But the fact that it's too cold, you can't be bothered, you're going to fall over as well. You don't know her, you're really hurrying up to get to your very important meeting, etc., 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 shows that we don't naturally, as it were, go towards the moralistic standpoint. We go towards the easy option, and violent offenders just have a much bigger manifestation of that and problems with personal space and all sorts of things. But that to me proves again that we are not the moral arbiters, or that is, there's a bar that must be outside of ourselves. Because, for example, Lewis speaks about if I get on, I don't know, if I get up from my seat on the bus or in a restaurant and I come back and you're sitting there, neither of us has to have the precursor conversation about why somebody's chair is somebody's chair. It's a given. We don't start I say, that's my chair. And you go, oh, I didn't know you. Like it's already given that there's a moral standard that you personally have broken by sitting in my chair. If I promise you some of my chocolate and then afterwards I don't give it, I'll start justifying it by saying, oh, but when I made the promise, I didn't know there was a chocolate shortage, and etc., etc. So I'm appealing to a moral standard outside of myself that you already know. Even if you're a stranger, you know that promises should be kept and chairs should be, potentially if someone just gets up, don't jump in their grave. Like just little, if I trip you over, it's clearly malicious. Like it.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question. Why is it bad to when somebody sits on a bus or what was, I don't know what the example was. I didn't
taking somebody's chair, not giving them the chocolate you promised.
No, I was just not remembering the environment that we were in, but
restaurant.
Okay, restaurant. Let's say somebody has a chair. They got up, left, but they will obviously come back, and you just went there and grabbed their chair. They come back and they're upset. Why is it wrong to take their chair? Can you tell me why that is wrong?
There's lots of reasons. Okay, so a restaurant is a better setting than a train because there's by means of the convention that everybody has set, as it were, about restaurants, you know that if the table's still laid, like if the plate, the knife and the fork are like that or whatever, the person's just gone to the lavatory. So it's temporarily their property. It's their prerogative to sit in that space that they have arranged with the restaurateur and their guests, etc. I'm now envisioning like maybe a party of 10 and you've just sat down. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no way you could imagine this table is now free, because that's what you would appeal to. You would automatically say to the person, oh, I thought you were gone. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought the chair was free. The chair is a chair. It's neither free, like it's free in the sense of it's not engaged at this time. However, there's an unspoken contract, and it's that appeal to like contractual law kind of thing, that there is an agreement. I was going to sit in this chair for the whole evening until I've paid my bill and not run away or done the washing up, whatever was going to happen.
But why is it wrong to disrespect that agreement?
It's wrong because you have intervened in someone else's contract, but like with the restaurateur. Also, it's wrong more so because you already know that it's not the correct course of action. It's not polite. It's not agreeable. It's not right. If the person just comes without looking and then hits the deck on their bottom, as it were, that's funny when you see that if someone pulls the chair out. However, the joy that you might get from laughing at it, it doesn't negate the fact that the person could be hurt. They could just rush back and try and sit in a chair and you're there. Now you've got a lady on your lap. It's all going wrong. you know, potentially there are people there watching all of this. So it's
But
wrong on
why is
many
it
levels.
not why is it not kind? Why is it not agreeable, and why is it not kind and not good to
It's not
do that
kind
anyway?
because of inconsideration. It's you're not considering that this half glass of wine, this lovely looking dinner that someone's clearly enjoying, they haven't put their knife and fork straight. That's another social convention in the they haven't put them like that. They put them like that. That's the international, I think, unless you're using chopsticks, sign for, I'm coming back to this. Maybe their handbag is on the table just to make you look an even bigger villain. So it's unkind, it's uncharitable. Christianity, at least, we have fruits of the spirit: peace, patience, kindness, long suffering, meekness, goodness, love, like all of like positive ideals and gifts of the spirit, as it were, things that you're able to do despite yourself.
But why is it inconsiderate? Why is it
because
inconsiderate?
you literally, linguistically, you have not considered that this person is still engaged in their meal. You're disrupting somebody's meal. They may have arthritis.
But what is wrong with that?
What is wrong with it is that you are showing a lack of courtesy. I don't know if it's, I feel him quite British now. It's like you just don't get it. Okay, we're not talking McDonald's, by the way. We're not talking Burger King. Yeah. We're talking like a decent.
I'm trying to get somewhere. Why is it bad to not have a sense of courtesy?
Consideration for other people. Because it shows what kind of answer do you want to sound by? It shows that you have a lack of awareness. So awareness is attractive in other people for many reasons, not least of which is that they will notice you and be able to interact with you and consider your feelings and your personal space and all of these things within an interaction. Also, your food is getting cold and we're still arguing. Could you just get up, please, now? Do I have to get the manager? It's that, like, it's one of those things that... Yeah.
Okay, I want to tell you something though. You have so I just asked you why that whole example is wrong, you know, why that whole thing is wrong, and the reasons that you gave me, I took notes here, are that it was temporarily their right. It is clearly their right. It was because they have an invisible or assumed contract with the restaurant. They clearly had their things there, which is why it is their right. It is bad because it is not agreeable to do that. It is inconsiderate of what they want to do and their rights. It is unkind, lack of courtesy that we are not aware, and that if we violate their right, if we are inconsiderate, then we will have a lack of mutual kindness and consideration. So, but when I asked you why it is wrong to take someone else's chair, you gave me entirely functional reasons for why it is right.
No, not necessarily, because it's still, well, maybe Christianity is well, it is functional because it has worked for so long. I would like
that means that means morality is functional.
Why does functionality preclude objective morality? Just because something works, it doesn't mean it's not an either or situation. God, in his infinite wisdom, I believe, not Allah, spoiler alert, but the real one, he knows the hearts and minds of men, as in humanity, you know, men and women. He also knows the optimum means by which we get along, and that's by self-sacrifice. Actually, that's by you know, going the second mile, by like for other people, but feeding the poor, loving your enemies and your neighbors, as you know, forgiving others as you desire to be forgiven yourself. Because if you don't forgive them, we're told, regardless of salvation, you won't be forgiven yourself. So it's an outward functionality that achieves an inward connection with the divine or with God that betters our life. So by being nicer to other people and by loving them, you don't have to like them, you don't have to approve of them, you don't have to agree with them theologically or civilly or politically, football teams, it doesn't matter, but you have to love them, because otherwise, you know, this is the example we're given of Christ is to love. That's literally his two greatest commandments, because they cover a multitude of sins and they encompass the entirety of the old law. If we don't, if God says, which he did, spoiler alert, he said he so loved the world that he gave Christ in order to redeem the world to him. If I then, as a Christian, am pointing out, and there's plenty of people who I dislike, don't get me wrong, if I look at them and I don't love them as I'm commanded, I'm implying that I have a greater knowledge than an all-knowing God. This all-knowing God knew knew Hitler was coming, knew Muhammad was coming, knew all of these big figures who potentially, you know, love them or hate them kind of people. He knew they were coming, and yet he still died as if they were the only person on the earth. He died individually for them, if that makes sense. And if I then say, yeah, but he's a Muslim, yeah, but he's a mass murderer, yeah, but he's something, I'm saying, God, do you know what? I'm then God's like advisor as opposed to.
Okay,
yeah.
so I have some objections to the things that you said, but
The Christian bit.
I just can't help to get to the dying for your sins
Functionality.
part, because it's
Come on.
just. But
I'm
I
eating
think
the
we just go.
chocolate that I may have stolen, by the way. I'm not sure.
See,
I didn't
No,
feel it.
we'll come to this, but
Obviously.
when we talk about killing, see, if I go around murdering people, right? If I go around taking people's rights, if I go on just randomly murdering people, that is
Yeah.
obviously bad. But why exactly is it bad? It is bad because people don't want to be killed. People want to live. They have a sense of people don't want to be killed. It's bad. This is why we don't kill. It is dysfunctional. It is wrong. Right?
Has anybody ever come back and told us that it's not pleasant?
Well,
or is it our interpretation?
Do you want to be killed?
Not at the moment. I've got some chocolate that I'm eating, and I haven't.
But we know, like, we know. I mean, it's philosophically established, and we have also psychologically, scientifically established that people have a will to live, which is why you have this internal struggle to survive. You are scared if you are faced with something that threatens you. Like if you jump in, if you are in front of a train, and even if you want to end your life in the last moment before the train runs you over, you will have this increasing and brutal urge to jump out of the way because you have an innate desire to survive. Yeah, the will to live. So people don't want to be killed. People want to live. This is why we don't kill each other, because nobody wants to be killed, and it is dysfunctional. What else is there? Why? If we see that it is dysfunctional to kill each other, like in the example of grabbing the chair, it is inconsiderate, lack of awareness, we are getting rid of kindness, and so on. If we see that we are simply doing this for functional reasons, why do we also have to conclude that it is somehow God who is happy with us if we don't kill other people?
Okay, I would say that it's not the case that we don't kill other people because we do not wish to be killed. In the UK, at least, not all of the United States, but we don't have capital punishment. We will not be killed for killing somebody else, and killing is misleading slightly. Murder is punishable by law. Killing could be by negligence, it could be an accident, it could be, it could be something that isn't premeditated, and the Bible is in agreement with this. It's premeditated murder that God doesn't like at all. It's in the top 10. But in the Old Testament,
but regardless of capital punishment, we forbid it because we don't want to be killed.
No, right? how about if someone I love dearly, my daughter, she comes to me and says, Mum, I really want to kill this guy XYZ. In that moment, as her mother, I care little for the guy. I don't want my daughter to become a murderer with all of the psychological and traumatic and societally, the labels, the lack of job, like all of those things, as well as I don't want to see harm coming to somebody else. But in my mind at that time, this other person is not a real person. I don't have any emotional connection to them. It's very easy, to play a computer game or to
but that's
order murders, killings all of the time.
It's more interpersonal, like more societal. Like, sorry if it will get personal for the sake of the example, but you would not want your daughter to be just killed, right? You would be very upset about that, just murdered cold-bloodedly. You would be upset about that.
Yes, and there's nothing to say I wouldn't then kill the perpetrator.
Yeah. So So you feel very upset. You feel very distressed about
Mhm.
murder. You don't want your
Sure.
loved one to be taken, and you yourself do not agree to just be murdered by random people, which means
Right.
we do not want this. We find this extremely distressing, which is why we consider it wrong and bad.
No, you're coming at it from literally the opposite end of the. If it's a
Why?
universal, okay, if we agree it's a universal phenomena, people do not wish to be killed. That's a safer bet because there are suicidal people, but let's forget about that for the moment. It's a universal. It's also temporally attested to from as far back as we can go. We know that we don't know of any tribe or society where it was the height of. There was infanticide in Rome, actually, but that's again not us being killed. That's us killing others. That can always be justified because they are the other, as in the Nanking example. If we look at ourselves, other than martyrdom, other than fighting for your country, other than laying down your life for your friend, because Christ says that's the greatest love that there is. If just in like senseless killing, we don't want to be killed for no reason. I don't mind dying for my daughter. I really don't. If they said, right, it's you or her, it's going to be me, and that's that. So there are caveats to not wanting to die. If it's for a glorious purpose, potentially for jihadis, I don't know. If it's for a reason that we deem acceptable.
Let's talk about murder, for example. Yeah.
Well, it's better to talk about us being killed because anger can temporarily justify it. If I see someone stabbing an old lady, the chance, like if I feel that killing them is gonna, like, so it can be it could be seen as altruistic to kill a killer, as it were. But I don't believe that's the case. So, bearing all that in mind, universally disagreeable for human beings to be killed. Why does that mean that we've come to that conclusion? If you run towards a 3-year-old who, as you said before, hasn't got much long-term memory, very selfish, very self-oriented, with a big stick, the perception of danger is an instinct as opposed to a learned behavior mostly. And therefore, why is it by agreement? Why is it that this society, you feel that somewhere behind closed doors, people are going, is it time for the murder yet? Like, should we just let them all like there? I don't. It's innate.
Because people have the innate will to live. I think we established that
So where does that
want to
come from?
live.
Why don't they have an innate moral compass?
Well, because you want to live. I mean, it's a very basic thing that even the dumbest animals have. Every living being wants to survive. You don't have to take it from an exterior source that it is in your best interest to survive or to eat.
I don't think the will to live is externally sourced, although I do think like depression, things like that. However, what I'm saying is if you can readily accept, as can I, that that's innate, why can't an innate sense of morality point to something out? Like if you're, just because you're born with something or it's learned, in no way goes for or against the existence of a precursor to these things. Like
well, it doesn't.
It's evolutionary. The people who wanted to kill each other, they're all dead. So now it's just
the thing is, why would we go to God with it? I mean, I'm not saying this disproves God. I'm just saying, why is there any reason for us to lead to God with that? Because we clearly see that we can fully establish the reasoning behind this and see that this is natural and functional. So why would we possibly go to God with this?
Supernatural, but natural.
I know it doesn't. It doesn't. But why would we go to God with this? Like there is no reason to go there.
Why wouldn't you?